nothing. You're just coming home, you know. Anyway, it's just the visuals are, I think, necessary to sort of get the message through.
Could it be?
Oh, man.
Could it
Anyway, what are we doing? We've had a good little chat.
Yeah, brother, for sure, man. Appreciate the time, man. Oh, speaking
Oh,
of,
one of my brothers have just popped
yeah,
on.
speaking of the brother,
Just popping on. Holy shit.
Greetings, Earthlings, greetings.
greetings.
Fella, what brings you on the call? I've noticed you've sent a couple of little audios or little messages there talking about
Yeah,
the call.
mate, some of the stuff you're sharing it's really good because it's helping me spiritually grow and probably others out there. You know, I think that is bringing a lot of meat. You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of food for thought. You know, to because I've experienced being in court and stuff. So when I was listening to the calls, I was going through the time of memory and the images because I'm living in Spain now, but I've experienced the system more in the UK than here. I've done a few bits and pieces here in Spain as well, but it works here as well. It doesn't matter where you are on the land, so to speak. It works as long as you're careful with the words and you ask questions and like you say, if they get you to sign anything, that's a contract. You can do it verbally, or you like you say, you have to be careful with the police. You don't need to talk to them, and if you do, be very careful and ask the right questions. And with that, you know, like you say, you have to be careful because if you say I believe or could it be, that's still a claim in a way. You're bringing a lot of, by Dominion doing the calls and you sharing what you're experiencing is definitely helping. I believe. Could it be a lot of people? There you go, 2 claims.
Hey, listen, brother, for the sake of communication, and we can all, whatever. Oh, look at me. I'm a complete fuck up. Who gives a shit? Big deal. So we're fuck ups. But look, for learning exercises, we can just speak normally as brothers. But just know, can you switch mode when it matters? It's like when the fucking rubber hits the road. Can you fucking wake up from your fucking coma, from your inertia, and suddenly wake up to the one in front of you who's about to take your fucking head off? Can you fucking wake up real quick? Because if you don't wake up, you're gonna have like finger soup. Imagine your fingers are in a bar mix and they're about to say, "Hey, we're about to press the button, and you're gonna have some finger soup. You ready for it? You're gonna wake up. You keep telling me you're fucking tired. Well, let's see how tired you really are.
Yeah,
You'll wake up real quick."
But you know what's so beautiful is like when you mentioned about like just scanning the I Am Batman 57 and seeing the comments, what people have written, it's a great eye opener because if you look carefully in the claims, or not even the claims, but the words that people are using, even if they're attempting to ask a question to another brother, you can tell if the question's presumptuous or assumptuous or the answer's in the question. So it's very deep and it helps us grow as beings of light, so to speak, when we can operate on that level, because you're either an observer or you're not an observer. And when you're an observer, you observe the thoughts. You're not attaching yourself to these thoughts. You see what I'm saying? So these parasitic entities that operate within the human body, I think once you can observe them as well and know that they exist, and that gives you a great opportunity to overcome the battle within and without.
I think the only thing that one can observe is to observe is to observe the perspective of, first of all, what do I really know? Number one, and that's coming from if I'm to observe something, do I really know what I'm looking at? Number one or two, whatever. That's possibly the best start, because when you're looking at what do I really know, it's helping you to empty out the mind before you start listening to someone. Because listening is not an easy thing, especially when you're in possession of knowledge. How easy do you think it is to listen to someone?
Are you saying like someone that thinks they know will jump the gun very quickly and it doesn't give them the opportunity to grow from the other person or the other being that wants to offer a hand?
Once you think you know something, and you're coming from a position, okay, you're observing something, because another word for observing is to take in information, taking in knowledge, right? I'm always looking when I'm driving or if I'm doing something, and what helped me in the past is to always look at what do I really know I'm looking at. Like I remember once there was a road rage, a big guy came out of the car and he wanted to murder me. And I hopped out of the car and I looked at him and I go, do I know what I'm looking at? And then I was pretty calm and I just looked at him and I just put the hand, I kind of like, I didn't hit him, but I just tapped him on his where his chest is. And I said, hey, how about you just take it easy, big fella? And I said, look, what you're talking about, maybe you could look around and find that what you're saying didn't happen. And then he looked around and he goes, holy shit, I'm so sorry. So it's rather than reacting, you're just slowing things down so that you're not going into the shopping trolley. The shopping trolley is you're buying into the reactions of another. And once you go into the buying, you're now in the commerce, you're now in the argument, you're now in the combat, you're now in the warfare, you're now gone instantly, oh, I'm peace, love and mung beans. Now I'm a warlord, I'm going to war defending my position. And my position is my delusions, right? Because I believe I own something because of whatever terminology that comes up, and someone's trespassed on my property because I'm an owner. And it's very, very easy by scratching the veneer of one to suddenly react in a heartbeat.
But would you agree, Boon, when you got when you've got the inner standing within about ownership, and we really know within that we don't own absolutely anything, and like we're just using these things. There's a label called usufructs. By using the fruits, you know, we create that balance around us. We don't react.
If I said that I learned firsthand experience from this usufruct concept that one may be speaking, I learned that from a very, very early days when we were doing the Batman, just like you were talking back when the Boris and all of those things were back in those days.
Yeah.
And all about the concept of I'm just using this shit. And then I learned very quickly from the judge that that what I believed I was using, I was still making a claim of it because I made a statement of I'm just using it. And as soon as you make a statement, I'm just using it, I automatically divided myself amongst the whole, and then the judge goes, well, I'll take that now because I believed that I was using property that I thought that I could use. But I thought was still making assumptions. I was making assumptions, and I was under the assumption that it's all there to use. And then through the rude awakening, I discovered that I was taking it instead of asking and considering the unknown factors. The absentee landlord.
Yeah, but didn't like was like I was led to believe that if we asked the judge, like, you know, when he goes, "Are you Mr. Sanchez?" and if I was to respond, could it be that I've been known to use that? And
now
is it okay that I use that name, Judge?
Yeah. If I said I tried all that stuff years and years ago, and then now I don't know. Look, just for the sake of this communication, I'll just clarify it for you, if I may. I'd go. I don't. How do I put it? I don't go into arguing with the name anymore. I just go, are you Joe Blow? I just go straight into present, and I just go present. Just like when you're in school or in prep, kindergarten, or whatever you want to call it, the teacher starts calling out the name, and you just go present. So that's all you need to do in court with the name. That's it.
When you say present, because don't forget there is an obstacle of fear, known and doubt, which can operate within the structure of the mind. When you notice that sometimes we think that they have authority to do a certain thing or violate one's so-called way of living. And
Well,
could it be like, if we don't ask the right question, we could get ourselves in a lot of trouble. So it would be very wise to observe the situation. But what the question I would have here would be, for example, if you was to do a bit of role playing, you're going in the courtroom before you enter the threshold, and the whoever, like the security guard or whoever, invites you into the room. You ask questions like, would it make you happy if I stand here and then stand there? Don't take an order, but ask the right questions. It can be frightening, but what I'm asking is, when a judge says to you, to what speaks to the CPS or the Crown Prosecution, they want to get an agreement that this man is who we ask who he is. But if we go in there asking, how would you operate when you go in that courtroom when they ask you the name?
Oh, I believe it. Did I just tell you?
Be present.
First of all, I don't go into talking about any happy shit, because it's just business in court. That's it. It's all 100% business. Terminology, which is equals business. So I just basically go, if they go, are you Sanchez or Boon or whoever, I just go present. That's it. I don't argue against the name, because we're not in the court. We're not in court to argue the name. You're actually in court because there are charges that they're going to join with the name. So you need to deal with the charges. There's no contest with the name and the court. The only contest there is once it's verified that the charges are now proven, we can add those charges now to the name.
Okay, so but when you say present, what do you mean by present? You don't speak, because you can acquiesce, can't you, by not speaking? If you stay mute like Jesus was when the rumors about the story of him speaking to Pontius Pilate, the Roman emperor at that time, or whoever he was, he goes to him, "Are you Jesus, or are you King of the Jews?" And he said, what did you come up with that name yourself?" But when he asked him when he was truth, he went mute, didn't he? Like,
what? Are you the King of the Jews? You saying that I am? I spent maybe, I don't know, months and months, maybe even a year, fucking with the name bullshit. And I even did all the Denny Crane stuff from Boston Legal. Yeah, I'm Daniel Lessig, and he believes he's God. You know, that's how I would talk to the judge in the court arena. Did I try all things? Fucking oath. But I realised in the end, stop fucking bullshitting with the name and spending your, all your energy just focusing on this name. Just fucking keep it simple. Are you Joe Blow? Present. Next. Then they can go on, right, you've been charged here with blah, 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 blah. You know, what do you want to say about that? What do you want to do about these charges today? And go from there. That's really all that's going on.
yeah, but when you say present, are you saying that when you're present and you're observing, you're coming from the heart, you can ask questions back, but would you agree that you have to be very careful by what questions you're asking the judge as well, which can be difficult?
Well, it's very difficult when you've got the terminology of present and heart and all that kind of crap going on inside you. Because if you've got all this, I'm just using it's a word, term, present. I'm going back to kindergarten. So you either learn from example. I'm just going by what I've experienced in this part of the world, and what works. And when I discovered that it's the name's not in contention. It's the charges that you need to focus on. That's the only thing, and that's why.
So you're saying to me, what are you saying then? Don't let the name throw you off track and put fear into you and stop you attaching yourself to this label, or you're using it or whatever. Forget about that for the minute. Focus on what the charges are, what they're bringing forth against that label.
Yeah, because I listened to your video and you fuck yourself over by thinking and trying to ask these questions, you know, I don't know. And then you start making I statements, like there's about 50 I statements. And once you make I
I'm
statements.
gonna drop off the call, guys. Sorry for interrupting. I gotta get going. I'll see you guys later.
All right, brother. Thanks for calling in, man. Lots of love to you, man.
Take care, brother.
So, where was
Yeah.
I?
Yeah, so rather than me make I statements like I'm led to believe, or you know,
Yeah,
like,
be very careful. I'm led to believe. That's fucking that's enough to give you a fucking jail sentence.
so this is why I say it's so important, because like it's all well and good, like Bratman brought something to the table, yeah, about the name many years ago. That's all well and good, but if you're not, like, he can get it right.
Hang on, and I'll use the term I'm led to believe. He still stands by that and doesn't change it. See, to me, if you go into court and you keep hammering that, you need a serious psych evaluation. That's how I see it.
See, this is where I feel that even though I got like love for our brothers and stuff, yeah, like if Batman could just like consider that he's not right with every single thing that he believes, and there's room for improvement for all of us, but the trouble is sometimes it's hard for people to get past that, especially, I don't know, like, because it can be hard for anyone really if they're not willing, if they think they know everything. Do you see what I'm saying? It can be hard for anyone. But like I say, I think I feel what you're bringing to the table is helping people that have gone down this path in the past that didn't had know it works, because I've had experiences that have shown me firsthand testimony that it works. You know, I've had things happen to me in the courts where I've benefited and things have worked out okay, but there's other times that I've messed up. So that's why I know this stuff that you're bringing to the table is really helpful for growing and using, like, getting the mind right for these situations. Not to, like, I don't think anyone wants to just put themselves in a situation to get themselves in court. It's whether you're wanting to live a certain way, like, and travel on the road and not participate in their property in the way that we have been, you know, thinking that it's our property.
Once you start speaking I statements, or I'm led to believe, or you know, I'm not this, or I am that, or I use this, or you start talking any statements, now you are meddling in their property because you're speaking from I am.
See,
So
it's the pondering persistence of the I thought. You know, like, we've been programmed so much, could it be, from the system or the schools and stuff, and language has been, you know, kind of given to us, and we've not really understood that it's a technology that can either set you free or put you in a mental institution or in a prison.
Well, there you go. And it comes back to the one thing you just said. It was given to you. Well, is that the assumption that you took without asking?
See, I assumed that this was given to me and it's mine to use, but it's not. You see how every day that pondering persistence of the I thought comes in. If you observe the thoughts, you could either be driving in the car and all of a sudden you'll think, oh, it looks, I got to do this, or oh, I must do that. It just pops into the head. But if you observe it, you can laugh at it and think, oh, I just said the I thought again, silly me, like joking with the ego. You know what I mean?
Well, look, a good start of it would be if every time you start speaking, or every time if one is speaking the I am, either you record yourself just in half an hour, see how many times you speak I am, and even in one day, you speak like probably 1,000 I ams in one day. You know, we're basically, we want the kingdom. We are the kingdom with the I am. So we are already in the kingdom of God, but we are the God. There's no actual God in the kingdom but ourselves, because we've taken from the possessor and we've become the God of our own making, and we are the kingdom within, because we've taken the kingdom for ourselves, and it's within us. That is the kingdom of heaven. It's within us because we've taken possession of property that doesn't belong to us. And now we get the bill and we're thinking, hang on, How is that possible? I was always led to believe, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is what happens when you get led to believe. You get led down the garden path, and then you end up basically a nightmare to yourself.
So if we are the I am, like, in other words, like we how do we live that though in a system that is tied into certain, like, even
how do you live that? Start unfucking yourself. That's how you live it. How do you
Okay.
unfuck yourself? Well, okay, just a very simple example. So I am. What's the opposite of I am?
Am I?
No. What's the opposite of I am?
I'm not.
Beautiful. I am. Is it
Yeah.
positive or negative?
Positive?
Beautiful. The opposite is what?
negative.
So you got I am not. You got positive, negative. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So what zeros out the I am and the I am not? What zeros? What brings everything back to physics, back to zero?
The question.
Yeah, which is? What's the question?
Who am I?
Ah,
Do I
fuck
know
you.
you?
Who am I? No, am I? It's too simple.
Oh, am I?
Am I?
Am I?
Am I? Right? Is am I a question or I am is a statement? Which is it? Can anyone tell the difference between a statement and a question?
For sure.
Because if you cannot see this, the only way to see it is to demonstrate it and to live it in actual day-to-day living, especially in court. This is where most people wake up from being tasered.
That's beautiful what you just said. Sorry to interrupt you, Boon, but that's very, like, am I? Like, if someone says to you, are you? Am I? That's deep, bruv.
Am I?
There you go. That's a beginning of how to unfuck yourself.
That's a
So-
beautiful thing to use in the courtroom, brother.
There you go. It's a
Am I?
start.
This
And-
is what I'm saying about the meat that people are missing, man. I believe that some people on back calls are missing some meat, bruv.
Yeah, well,
They're not.
listen, the meat's very tasty. I mean, who really wants to get off the meat, brother? Seriously.
Yeah, well, we've got two different types of meat. You've got the meat of the fruit, and then you like the mango, or you've got meat of the flesh, the spirit and the flesh. One, and people do on I'm Batman 57 or any other channel, you can use that mode within reason, but to use it every
Oh,
day and
Absolutely.
is
I've done that. If I said to you, I've been on those so-called calls and dealing with every assumption that is made. And, if I said to you, the Batman and all them, they don't see the could it be questions as assumptive. They see it as just a question where it's actually loaded. It's like a loaded gun. At the beginning of this call, I actually went through it with Dominion, all about the could it be's and all those assumptive type questions. And it might be worth your while just listening to this call once the recording is done. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I get the feeling that when I listen to the calls that you and Dominion are doing, when I'm at work, like, and I'm painting or whatever, and I'm trying to absorb, I am listening and hearing and absorbing, and because I've experienced the things that you're talking about, it really helps me grow more, because I wish I could have had this added to what I knew from Batman, because it does help with everything. And I recognise that for oneself. So I've got the opportunity to grow more and relate to where you're coming from with the language side of it, because learning about I'm led to believe or could it be is a loaded gun, and it can get ourselves in trouble. That's quite a valuable thing to know. It's got value.
Indeed.
Well, look,
Suggestive language.
it's starting to open up the mind and going, what does one mean by what they're saying? Why do they speak that way? Why is it? It's every time you open your mouth, it starts off with a could it be? What the fuck is that about? And I said to the brother before, if you want to speak something to your fellow brother and say, listen, we can be candid, but if I want to bring up, a topic or something, I speak in terms of, it may be this way, it seems to be possibly that way or this way. The angle how I see it, I may see it in this particular way, which is blah, 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 rather than everything being in absolute kind of language. When you speak in absolutes and you'll listen to the judge very rarely speaks in absolute language. That's why they always talk in consideration. And they consider all offers because they see everything as an offer. And if you start seeing everything as an offer, you don't see it as a threat. You see it as an opportunity. You see it as an opportunity to open up the possibility of, a statement. What's the mirror question to this statement? Yeah, how do I open it up into a stop sign? How do I open it up into a field of a horizon that's an infinite opening? How do I open things up through question?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you watch that video that one sent you, it's hard, isn't it? Because the mind constantly says I. But I know we can do it as brothers. If you watch that video, you can see. I bet you can see the Batman in me, but also where I'm going wrong on a deep scale, on a deep level.
Yeah, but don't forget that without the bat shit, I mean, would you have come to where you come today?
No,
going through
I
it.
want people where I'm staying. I'm grateful for what I've got from Batman. That value that I've got from you as well as him and Dominion.
Look, without Batman, in a sense, and I use him as a very good instrument or a tool, mainly as a transmission. It's not basically if I'm interrogating Batman and I don't think he likes me when I interrogate him. And I did put it on the call. I said, look, what I'm doing to Batman, if I may ask, please let anyone scrutinise and interrogate me. I would love that if there was someone out there, who'd do the same that I'm doing with Batman. Because basically every transmission that Batman speaks is highly assumptive, and it's closed, very much closed down to the possibility of opening up the assumptive questions and bringing it up. Because in the beginning of this call, I've given many examples on how when you ask the could it be questions, you are handing basically an offer to someone else to take possession of that offer, and then you're asking them at the same time to explain to you, is that your confession? So on one hand, he's offering you the very thing that he's getting you to explain, which is a fucking nightmare, and he's the one bringing it up, and he's asking you to explain it to him. I
think just by saying could it be shows that you don't know really, so you're coming in there unknowingly.
The mass assumption that that the ones around you, it's up to you to decide. I mean, this is his language, allegedly. I mean, actually, no, is it allegedly or is it just proven? And that's why I love listening to Batman, because the teachings in that, it's everything. He directs everything back to the individual. And the greatest assumption of all is it's not for you to take. It ain't yours to take to yourself. It's not your property. It's to put together a question that mirrors back to the individual or the one who's transmitting it across. And he's like sending a fireball over to you. You need to send back a question that puts out the fireball.
Yes. Yeah, but like you say, again, we was led to believe, I'm led to believe, or could it be, these questions that were taught in the younger days have to be examined, because we're making presumptions and assumptions how a judge is going to view that. You know what I'm saying? This is very important to get the grasp.
I believe there's a matter here or whatever. There was all this, there's a matter. I'm here to help settle the matter. I mean, who the fuck do you think you are? They're going to settle anything.
Let's believe there's a mistake is another one that was around.
Oh, mate, I'm sure there's hundreds of stuff. I mean, we can go through hundreds of them. I mean, look, I said to Batman, it's nothing personal. I said, if you get upset that I'm using the word Batman, that's because one identifies with Batman. You know, if you look
there's
at
an agreement between you and him that label is what is connected to that label is a picture of either a character one believes or you know what I mean. There's many, and it's synonymous. It doesn't have to be just one being as well.
No, and I said to Batman, I said, listen, I'm here to be scrutinised as well. Why don't you do that? Scrutinise me. I love my sorry ass being scrutinised if I own such a thing. Please, I want to be under subjection to the assumptions that if I'm making. Otherwise, what are these calls about? Yeah, am I a greedy swine taking every offer for myself because someone up there identifies with the name of Batman and he believes he's the one who reminds everyone to, you know, this is his role to remind everyone to listen to the little voice within and take every single offer that you hear and ignore all offers, because this is to me the Batman show I predominantly has been teaching people how to ignore offers, and you ask yourself, how's that possible? Well, thanks to the 500 hours of listening to the Batman, it's actually helped me incredibly actually realise how to realise the one thing about these the presumptions in these questions, how they come across, and are we paying attention enough to seek out the terminology that's in these questions, and that's where it's a big head fuck for most guys. They actually see, who are you to fucking be the interpreter? Is one interpreting when they're fucking asking the question? And even with the Batman, and I'll say this with the Batman 1,000 times, I don't focus on him as per se. I focus on the transmission, and that's why these calls should predominantly be about the transmission of an individual who is making these statements dressed up in questions. And if you can't see the question as a statement, first of all, that could be a possible problem, because it's still wrapped up. That's showing you, if you can't see it, it's just wrapped up in possession. And it's not an easy gig. And I saying that I could see it, well, first of all, I say that I'm as blind as they come. And if I'm blind, then at least there's a glimpse of hope there. I might be able to see what I can't see. And that's a good start, a very good start.
Yeah, but if you can't see it, that can get emotional, and then you attach yourself to either an emotion that affects you because the word has like an emotion tied to it or an experience.
You get emotional about the by being in possession of the property, and it all comes back to property. It's kind of crazy, but at the end of the day, I mean, what else are we dealing with?
Energy as well, I'd say.
Yeah, that's still terminology, still everything.
Well, if you speak a sound, it like Alan is just a sound, but you can make that become physical by writing ALAN on a bit of paper. That sound becomes a physical manifestation of what you spoke.
Yeah, well, does it come back to what one believes about it? That's all.
Exactly, but there's an emotion tied to that by most people that certain circles of the world.
Follow the emotion to identification, because whatever one identifies with, is it true? There's always an emotion.
Is it true that is there always an emotion? Well, it depends, because we can override the emotion. It's only because of attachment or possession that we get the emotion tied to it. Could it be?
Well,
perhaps
if you start bringing, I guess what I'm trying to do, brother, is show in reversing, going backwards instead of forwards. This what we're doing. If anything, it's like reverse engineering. You're going backwards instead of forwards. Everything that's said. When I hear something, I listen to what you're hearing, and then I go in reverse. I don't go forward. Everything I'm doing is in reverse. That's why it's annoying and upsetting for a lot of people on the calls, because I'm dealing directly with, if I'm dealing with anything, is the assumption of that terminology or whatever's been spoken about. And
Yeah.
if I said I'm
You-
demonstrating it, it's being demonstrated in front of the ears that you've been known to hear. But the good thing about it is when there's a reaction to it, then you know that it's working.
Yeah, 100%. But would you agree? Like, for example, how can I put it? If someone asks a question, there is an answer in that question. You can find out if they're being presumptuous and assumptuous, and whether they're coming in with a loaded question or not. Like,
Well, first of all, focus on the one thing. The first proposition coming out of someone's mouth, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, like, for example, could it be, right? Okay, suggestion. What's he suggesting? He's suggesting you to take possession of what? Now there's a term he uses after it. Now, what does he fucking know about that term? Then he passes it on to the individual, and then the individual takes possession of that term. And once you take possession of that term, then the first guy then asks, who asked that question, then asks you the question to explain, to tell him about it. And yet he's the very one bringing it up. And then he'll go into, then the more you explain yourself, oh, well, that's just your, is that an admission coming from you? So it's completely unhelpful. It's it's kind of like setting you up double traps and fucking you up every which way. It really is mastery behind it. I love it.
I can't wait to listen to this call, because there's so much meat in this call. Probably, when you're speaking to me, I can't absorb everything in one hit. It's a lot to think about and to digest.
Yeah, no, that's good, brother. Look, let's leave it here now. Are you there, Dominion? Oh yeah. Anyway, so yeah, let's leave it. Let's leave it for now. And I reckon we as I said, most Sundays just Melbourne time in Melbourne, Australia.
Yep.
You can jump on if you're around, and write down some questions, or if you want to, if there's any videos or any audio or transcripts that you want to go through, we can go through it, no problem.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like a plan, I believe. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, it's good that you jump on. It's always nice to hear a bit of the feedback. Look, it's not about just be very clear and careful. I like to be careful in clarifying one thing. This is not about being personalised or personalising, meaning finger pointing to anyone. The only problem is it's taken personal when one is identifying with the name that they're using. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that I says, I would love someone, if there's someone who's got an issue with the Boon or something, good. Then write down what the issue is and let's clarify it. Let's discuss it. Let's put it on the table. Let's talk about it. Right? And then it's sorted. It's resolved. Then we can move on and go from there.
Yeah, I've noticed though, for me, if you've got a little bit like when people are communicating with each other on the I'm Batman channel or any other channel, like some people can't see certain things, and you can go around in circles with them. Perhaps that's what I believe that we can all do in different ways. But there needs to be an agreement where someone accepts that they might be at fault, because we're on a journey together and we're using words, and it can become a word war if we're not knowing certain things that you're revealing, as well as what's being shown by people messaging on the channels and talking that way, sharing information too.
Look, if you go back onto this call, you'll see or hear possibly, rather than words being used against one another, imagine there's a way of using words for each other. And when you start to see that language is meant to be for one another, we're for each other, then you're asking the question, and we start opening the door. If I may rephrase it, how does it sound now to you? What would that help? Rather than closing the door off you know, you said this and he said that, she said that, and there's this kind of he said, she said talk, and it's kind of like, well, okay, I may have said many things in this so-called life, but you know, how do we open up the door for one another where we're not trying to box someone in?
Yeah, we're not having a word war, are we? We're not having like words fired at us in the.
We're not trying to prove, oh yeah, I'm fucking right. Wrong. We're just using the technology. When we go to war and there's a shit show, it just shows that there hasn't been any, there hasn't been an understanding of terms and words. That's all it is. We're actually assuming. Another thing for arguments, when you're arguing, is we're assuming that we know what someone else is saying by what they're talking about, and that's why we go into arguments, because we think we know what they're talking about. So it's a complete stupid, it's a shit show for no reason, because we're just not asking a question.
Yeah.
Comes back to, yeah.
Well,
are you still with Dominion?
Yes, brother, I'm still here.
Okay, no worries. So we're going to wrap it up now. If you boys are okay with it.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. I can't believe that I got on a call with you guys. I just saw a green join call, and I was like, oh, where do I go? Because Batman had a call on, and it was like, do I go to Batman? No, I haven't been on this call. Let's go on this call.
Yeah. Well, Sanchez, if that's the name you go by, ask Dominion for, if you want some recordings or whatever, talk with the brother, and he'll pass on whatever you need, and maybe this call, there's some gold in it for you too. So, you know, sometimes we have some chats like we have in the last couple of weeks, and then sometimes we go, I wouldn't mind probably in the next couple of weeks just to go through some audio or transcripts or some videos. They're also a lot of fun too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think they can help others grow as well. Maybe the one with me in court before, we could maybe go through that and how I made the mistakes.
Yeah. That's what I love about you, brother. That's why I say to people, this is not a finger pointing exercise. It's about, hey, if you really want to look at it from the perspective of how, you know, this is seen in court, and how you looked at as goyim, as a swine, a pig in a trough who's just on the take, then keep speaking this way. Because if you're not going to change the way you're transmitting, which is probably the most difficult thing to do, is changing the transmission that comes out of the mouth of man. And we were talking about that earlier in the call. It's not what goes into a man, but you want to also be very, very careful what comes out of the mouth. And that's why when you know, it also talks about, you know, also be careful what you feed yourself. Yeah, and consider all things. That's really, are we looking at all those?
100% agree with that. 100% in agreement with that. Spot on, Boon.
Yeah. Anyway, if we're spot on with things, we learn to start to consider things, and we find we go into less combat and conflict with one another, and it becomes simple. It's just remember, as a child, you know, you might have, you know, threw a Tonka truck at your mate's face or something like that, and they started crying. But you know, they were back into pushing the trucks around, and you both were playing, and it was fun. You didn't go. There wasn't any kind of warfare that was really going on at 1 year old or something like that. You were just playing around, and everything was fine until the doctrines of your mum and your dad and everything else started coming into it, and then you started, you know, becoming, you know, a bit of an owner from a young age.
A possessor, an attachment, attaching ourselves to possession.
Yeah. All right, boys, I'm going to leave now. And if we're back in the next week or two, then let's be in touch. And yeah, lots of love. It's been fun on the call.
All right, brothers. Good.
Talk soon.
Take care, brothers.
All right.
Ciao. Ciao.